French Grammar, Part 2, the perfect tense, revision and practice. So feel free to skip around with the timestamps. In this video, we'll be looking at what is the perfect tense, how to form the perfect tense, and we'll be doing some practice. So firstly, what is the perfect tense? So in English, the perfect tense is used when we want to say, I went to the park, or I bought it yesterday. So we can say that the perfect tense describes a past action. It's almost like the English's equivalent of the past tense. Now let's look at how to form the perfect tense. Now note, in English, if you wanted to talk about the past, you would just say something like, oh, I ate yesterday. But in French, you would have to say, I had eaten yesterday. Now, when we're looking at I had eaten yesterday, we have this extra verb had. And in French, this extra verb has a name. It's called the auxiliary. Now, anytime you want to say anything in the perfect tense, you are going to need this auxiliary verb. So let's look at the different steps of using the perfect tense. So firstly, step 1 is changing the main verb. If you wanted to say, I ate yesterday, the main verb is to eat. So you're going to take the infinitive, to eat, manger, and you're going to take off the ending. So either be er, ir, or re. So the ending here is er. So you take that off, and then you add the respective ending. Now you can see on the table on the left corner all of the respective endings. So the perfect tense is actually quite nice in that you only have to memorize 3 endings for any person. So no matter which person you are, the ending will always be the same. For an er verb, it will be e with an accent, so e. For an ir verb, it will just be I, fini. And for an re verb, it will just be u, attendu, etc. So now we have manger. The step 2 is deciding which auxiliary verb to use. Now, the auxiliary verb is always going to be either avoir, to have, or être, to be. Now, in order to decide which one to use, avoir is used in most cases, but there is a mnemonic for the ones that you use être in. Now, unfortunately, the picture isn't showing up, but the mnemonic is Mrs. Van der Tromp. So if you just search that up, Mrs. Van der Tromp, and they have all of the verbs which you use the être, but auxiliary, but otherwise you use avoir. Now for manger, like a lot of the verbs, we're using avoir. And step 3 is then conjugating that auxiliary into the present tense for the appropriate person. So in this case, you want to say, I ate yesterday. So you're going to conjugate avoir to the appropriate tense I, which is je ai, j'ai. So it would be j'ai mangé. But say if you wanted to say, you ate yesterday, then you would say, tu as mangé, for example. Or say you wanted to say, we ate yesterday, nous avons mangé, etc. But as usual, for the irregular verbs, there is a different form. Now, you can use the avoir auxiliary and memorize the past participle form of the main verb for irregular verbs. So, for example, if you wanted to say I had, it would be j'ai eu. I had done, j'ai fait. So the thing that changes when we're talking about irregular verbs is not the auxiliary, because you still use that, it's actually what happens to the main verb. And instead of having a particular pattern, you just have to memorize that avoir is être is été, faire is fait, etc. These are called the past participles. Now let's look at some perfect tense practice. So your task is to translate these 3 sentences into English. Here are the answers. She went shopping. Elle est allée faire du shopping. So she had been shopping. So the first case is when we use the être as the auxiliary. So that's why you see the est. That's the être conjugated for elle in the present tense. And then the aller is just the past participle. The second one, you bought a black cat. Tu as acheté une chatte noire. So in this case, the auxiliary is avoir, and we've conjugated it for tu, so tu as, and acheter is just the past participle of acheter. And finally, number three, they watched the TV. Ils ont regardé à la télé. So ils ont regardé, so you can see avoir has been conjugated again in this case for ils ont, and then the regarder is just the past participle of regarder. In your GCSE French, just a reminder that you need to include as many tenses and fancy grammar if you want to get those top 7, 8, and 9 grades. And this is all across your exams, your speaking, your writing, even your reading to a certain extent. And since there are not many YouTube videos online, here I am. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe. I do videos on other subjects as well, such as English, religious studies, geography, the sciences very soon. So do check this out. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon.